The rain pounded on the windows, and the streets looked cold and deserted at night. Alan sat at his desk, burying his head in thought about his upcoming high school life. Suddenly, a strange wind blew through the desk and rattled the window. He rubbed his eyes and reared his head. On the desk, a blood-red envelope caught his eye, unaddressed, with only his name, Alan Harper. Curiosity drove him to open the envelope, and inside was an ancient piece of paper filled with strange symbols and words that he couldn't read at all. And at the bottom of the paper, there was a line written in red ink. "You are cordially invited to join the Bloodbook Academy." A shock went through Alan's mind. He had never heard of this school. His curiosity overcame his doubts, and he decided to head to this mysterious academy to find out more. The next day, when he stood in front of the gates of the Bloodbook Academy, he felt a strange chill. The gates of the campus were ancient and solemn, with ancient patterns carved on them, giving off an eerie feeling. He walked into the campus, his footsteps making a rustling sound as if he was walking into another world. The campus was empty, as if all the students had disappeared without a trace. He walked through a patch of grass when he suddenly heard a faint whisper, as if someone was whispering. He craned his head to look, but saw nothing, only a gust of wind that brought with it a stronger scent of grass. Toward evening, the sky darkened. Alan couldn't help but look towards the main building of the academy, when suddenly a blurry figure flashed through the window. His heart raced, but he couldn't help but be drawn towards the main building. Pushing open the door of the main building, he found himself in a spacious hall. In the center of the hall stood an ancient desk filled with dusty books and quills. The curtains were rattled by the wind, and the sound of pages turning echoed through the silent hall. It was at this moment that one of the books on the desk suddenly flipped open on its own, and a ghostly incantation sounded. Alan froze as he saw the words on the pages of the book shifting and seemingly rearranging themselves into a passage. The passage began to gradually reveal itself to be a history of the academy. It turned out that the Bloodbook Academy was created by an ancient secret organization to explore supernatural powers. However, the organization gradually got lost in the darkness, and the academy turned into a bizarre existence that devoured the lives of innocents. At the end of that paragraph, the book suddenly closed automatically, and silence returned to the hall. Alan felt a chill as he realized that this academy was not the ordinary school he thought it was. He decided to continue to investigate deeper to uncover the secret behind the Bloodbook Academy, and at the same time find a ray of hope for his own survival. Alan stood in the center of the hall, the books and feather quill on his desk sitting quietly, as if what had just happened was just a dream. However, the uneasiness in his heart grew stronger. He looked out the window, and the sky outside was already completely dark. The campus of the Bloodbook Academy appeared unusually quiet, with the shadows of the trees, as if it hid countless secrets. Alan walked out of the hall and walked on the paths of the campus. He could feel what seemed to be some kind of unnameable presence in the trees and flowers. Suddenly, he heard a faint call, as if someone was whispering in his ear. He craned his head to look around, only to find that his surroundings were empty. His heart began to race as the atmosphere of the place became more and more eerie. Continuing on, he encountered a few students. Their faces were all a bit odd, their eyes empty, as if they had lost their souls. He tried to communicate with them, but found their answers vague and incoherent, as if they were controlled by something. As night fell, the campus looked even more eerie. Alan walked down the long corridor, the graffiti on the walls making his heart skip a beat. The patterns in the graffiti were twisted and grotesque, filled with a dark and disturbing atmosphere. He spotted a half-covered classroom door with a faint light coming through the crack. He pushed the door open and realized that the classroom exuded an ancient aura. The desks and chairs in the classroom were arranged in a haphazard manner, and some faded papers were scattered on the floor. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly heard a low breathing sound. He looked to the corner of the classroom and realized that a blurry figure was standing there with its back to him. The figure seemed to be breathing, but the sound was unusually heavy. Alan's heartbeat involuntarily sped up, and he took a few steps to try to get a better look at the figure. However, as he got closer, the figure suddenly disappeared, as if a gust of wind had blown it away. He felt a chill, and the temperature of the classroom seemed to plummet. With confusion and fear, he hurriedly left the classroom, deciding to continue exploring the campus in search of clues to solve this bizarre mystery. Alan continued to wander around the campus of the Bloodbook Academy with a sense of curiosity and fear about this mysterious place. As night fell and the trees shimmered, the campus became even more secluded and eerie. Suddenly, he heard a scream from the distance. His heart raced, and he immediately walked in the direction the sound came from. Walking on a trail, he found something scattered on the ground, and he bent down to take a look and realized that it was some students' bags and textbooks. He followed the trail and came to an open meadow. In the center of the grass, he saw a blurry figure that was constantly swaying. As he got closer, his heart trembled as he realized that it was a missing student curled up on the ground, his body trembling and his eyes filled with fear. Alan walked forward and tried to communicate with the student, only to find that his speech was unusually confused, and he seemed to have completely lost his mind. The student's face was pale, his lips purple, and he was obviously in great shock. With Alan's calming presence, the student finally spoke bits and pieces of information. He described a dark night when he, along with the other students, encountered something unexplainable. They felt an indescribable presence around them, and then one by one they disappeared, leaving him alone here. Alan listened in awe as these descriptions matched his earlier findings. He decided to take the student back to the hall and try to find some clues to solve this mystery. Back in the hall, he helped the student soothe his mind and then began to research the history of the academy. He flipped through the ancient book, looking for information about missing students and campus secrets. Between the pages, he found an account of a similar incident. Decades ago, there had been a tragic incident in the academy where many students had mysteriously disappeared in a dark night, and their whereabouts had yet to be solved. Meanwhile, the student's emotions gradually stabilized, and he began to recall more bits and pieces about that dark night. He described a sense of indescribable fear and the presence of what seemed like countless ghosts trying to devour their souls. Alan's heart tightened as he realized that the situation here could be even more terrifying than he had imagined. He decided to work with the student to find more clues to uncover the secrets behind the academy and seek answers for the missing students. As night enveloped the entire Bloodbook Academy, Alan and the students sat in the hall, still discussing things about the missing student and the secrets of the academy. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew by, and the lights in the hall wavered, casting strange shadows. Just as the two were engrossed in their conversation, a voice suddenly came from the depths of the hall. "Are you looking for answers?" They snapped their heads up to see a figure approaching from the darkness, a man dressed in the ancient garb of a teacher. The teacher's face was unreadable, seemingly hidden by the shadows. He walked slowly to them, revealing a pair of beady eyes through the slits in his hood. His voice was low and hoarse, chilling. "I am the caretaker of this academy. My name is irrelevant," the teacher said, an indescribable sense of airiness in his voice. He continued, "You are exploring the secrets of the academy, but will you be able to bear the truth?" Alan and the student exchanged glances, their curiosity overcoming their fear. Alan asked, "Please tell us the truth about the academy." The teacher looked at them deeply, then began to narrate. He told of the founding father of the academy, a scholar fascinated by the power of darkness, who established the academy on the land through an evil ritual. The academy became a medium for interconnecting with the forces of darkness, devouring the life force of innocence to perpetuate its existence. The missing students, their souls were captured in the shadows of the academy and became part of it. The teacher's voice grew grimmer. He continued, "And I, as the caretaker, I had to carry out this horrible mission, protecting the dark power of the academy." Alan and the student were dumbfounded as they couldn't believe what they were hearing. However, the teacher's words were so full of terrifying truth that it was impossible to doubt them. "Now that you know the truth, can you still escape?" The teacher's voice grew colder and colder. He turned towards the depths of the hall and disappeared into the darkness. Alan and the student fell into silence, their hearts filled with unease. They knew that they had fallen deep into this horrible academy, and escaping seemed to be getting tougher and tougher. After the teacher's eerie narration, a heavy atmosphere pervaded the hall. Alan and the student felt as if they were in an endless darkness, not knowing whether they should advance or retreat. However, just then, suddenly the lights in the hall began to flicker, followed by a faint sound as if someone was whispering. Alan and the student coincidentally looked into the depths of the hall, and they were surprised to find that the air was filled with a faint glow that seemed to be a transparent presence. These rays gradually coalesced and formed blurry figures. The ghostly figures began to become clear. They were the missing students, their faces filled with endless sadness and grief. The missing students began to walk silently through the halls, their faces carrying unspeakable expressions. Alan and the student watched them intently, as if they could feel their memories and emotions. One of the missing students suddenly stepped toward Alan and extended a pale finger to point at him. His lips moved, but no sound came out. However, in Alan's heart, he seemed to hear a faint call, "Help us." Alan's mood instantly became complicated. He felt the fear and despair of the missing students who were trapped in this academy, unable to transcend their lives. He decided to help them by unlocking the dark power of the academy and giving these souls peace. Guided by the missing students, Alan and the student arrived at a hidden space underneath the academy. There was a thick energy that permeated the place, the very source of the dark power. They realized that in order to eliminate this horrible academy, they would have to destroy the core of this darkness. However, the echoes of the ghosts grew stronger in the dark energy, their calls filled with irresistible power. Alan feels as if he too is drawn to this power, and he can't help but begin to wonder if he will ever be able to overcome this dark temptation. The echoes of the apparition grew stronger in the dark underground space, as if trying to suck Alan into it. He felt his consciousness begin to blur, dominated by an irresistible force. However, just as he felt overwhelmed, the faces of the missing students appeared in his mind, their eyes full of expectation and hope. The call of these souls strengthened his heart. He was unwilling to become a slave to the dark power. "No, I can't be consumed," Alan cried out, struggling with all his might. He began to recall the stories of the missing students, their innocence and suffering, and their desire for deliverance. As he cried out, the energy of the darkness seemed to take a hit and began to fade away. The echoes of the apparition grew faint, and the faces of the missing students faded into the darkness. Suddenly, an intense flash of light filled the entire space, and the dark power erupted violently. Alan felt himself being hit by an invisible energy. His consciousness gradually blurred, and a huge whirlpool seemed to appear before his eyes. When he came to his senses again, he found himself lying in the halls of the academy, a fresh scent permeating his surroundings. He sat up and realized that the ghosts of the missing students had disappeared, replaced by an atmosphere of peace and calm. The student came forward, his face brightening and his eyes filled with gratitude. He told Alan that the missing students had finally been freed after the dark forces had been dissipated, and that their souls would be traveling to a better place. Led by that student, Alan walked around the entire campus and found that the eerie graffiti and terrifying atmosphere had disappeared. The Bloodbook Academy had become calm and peaceful, as if it had returned to what it should have been. However, Alan knew that this experience would remain in his memory forever. He was well aware of the existence of dark forces and the importance of fighting fear. He decided to write down this experience to warn future generations not to easily fall into the temptation of darkness. Alan decides to join the ghosts of the missing students in a duel to try to destroy the evil forces of the Bloodbook Academy and save the trapped souls. He realizes that only by destroying this medium of darkness once and for all can peace be restored to the land. The campus of the academy is unusually quiet on the night of the duel, with moonlight pouring in between the shadows of the trees, creating a mysterious atmosphere. Alan and the missing students gathered in the hall, a strong determination burning in their hearts. The ghosts of the missing students began to emit a faint glow, as they seemed to gather their power to prepare for the duel. Alan, on the other hand, pulled out the ancient book, and the spells on its pages began to flicker. They assembled in the hall, each of them investing their innermost strength. Alan read aloud the incantation on the pages, and the ghosts of the missing students chimed in, their light growing brighter and brighter as they converged into a powerful beam of light. The beam of light shot towards the dark space underground, and the dark forces began to tremble, letting out a shrill hiss. The entire academy began to tremble, as if the dark forces underground were being torn apart under the effect of the beam. The dark space underground began to disintegrate, and the dark power gradually dissipated, like a cloud of black smoke being blown away by the wind. The ghosts of the missing students also began to fade away, their smiles filled with hope and gratitude. And after the dark space underground disappeared, the school's campus regained its tranquility, the moonlight at night sprinkling the entire scene. The Bloodbook Academy seemed to take on a new life, free from that terrible past. One by one, the ghosts of the missing students surfaced and thanked Alan. They tell Alan that because of his courage and determination, they have finally been freed and given peace. As the ghosts disappeared, the entire scene gradually regained its serenity, and the winds of the night blew through, taking away the gloom of the past. Alan stood in the campus with mixed emotions and relief, realizing that their efforts were worthwhile. The Bloodbook Academy had finally regained its peace. Without the curse of darkness, it had become an ordinary campus. And Alan would remember this experience forever. This dueling night would become an indelible page in his life. With the dissipation of the dark power, the Bloodbook Academy has finally shaken off that terrible past and has become a peaceful and beautiful campus once again. The souls of the missing students were freed, and their ghosts no longer wandered, but returned to their resting place. Alan stood in the campus of the academy and watched this once gloomy place become so peaceful. He felt an inexplicable wave of joy and satisfaction. He realized that the victory in this duel was not only a victory over the forces of evil, but also a redemption of his own heart. The ghosts of the missing students reappeared in front of him, their faces filled with smiles as they looked at him gratefully. A leading ghost stepped forward and thanked Alan. "Because of your courage, we have finally been relieved and regained our freedom." Alan smiled and nodded his head, knowing that he had made the right choice, and as a result, he had gained the recognition and gratitude of the missing students. Their souls gradually faded, gradually blending into their surroundings, as if they had returned to nature. With the disappearance of the ghosts of the missing students, the campus became more peaceful at night, with moonlight showering everything. And in that ancient book, Alan found an ancient scroll with a blessing written on it. He knew that it was a blessing from the missing students and a sign of encouragement and gratitude. He decided to record this experience so that more people would know that courage and determination could overcome darkness and bring hope and salvation. Returning to the real world, Alan wrote a book about the experience titled Redemption in the Book of Blood. The book became a bestseller, and many people came to understand the importance of courage and hope through his story. And the Book of Blood School has become a symbol of caution, reminding people not to easily fall into the temptation of darkness. Whenever someone approaches this campus, they can feel a mysterious atmosphere, an echo of the missing students and an echo of Alan's courageous actions.